If you're after a new smartphone that delivers solid performance without blowing your budget, this video is for you. I've rounded up the top 5 budget Xiaomi phones of 2025, and these devices aren't just cheap, they're packed with features that punch way above their price. We're talking about the Redmi Note 14 5G with its smooth 120Hz AMOLED display and 108-megapixel camera with OIS, or the ultra-affordable Redmi 14C, which somehow brings a 120Hz screen and stylish vegan leather back for under $130. And for performance lovers, the Poco X6 Pro offers near flagship power thanks to the Dimensity 8300 Ultra. Need massive battery life? The Redmi Turbo 4 Pro has a 7,550 mAh battery and up to 1 TB of storage. And to top it off, the Poco X7 Pro offers IP68 durability, 90W rapid charging, and a stunning OLED display, all at a mid-range price. Quick heads up, all product links are in the description below so you can check out current pricing, specs, and availability. Let's break down the best value Xiaomi has to offer this year, starting with a phone that's as reliable as it is affordable. Up first in our budget Xiaomi roundup, the Redmi Note 14 5G. This phone follows in the footsteps of the Note 13 with a familiar formula. Solid display, generous memory options, and a surprisingly capable camera, all at a very wallet-friendly price. You're looking at under £200 in the UK or around $276 in the US if you grab it through Amazon. Now let's talk build. It's got a slightly larger footprint this time, a bit thicker, a bit heavier, weighing in at 190 grams. But that extra weight brings a bonus, a bigger 5,110 mAh battery, and still feels pretty comfy in hand thanks to the new rounded back. On the front, you're getting a 6.67-inch AMOLED panel, full HD+, with a smooth 120Hz refresh rate. It supports HDR10+, with peak brightness hitting 2,100 nits. Pretty rare for this price range. And yes, there's now an in-display fingerprint scanner, which makes it feel a bit more premium. Under the hood, it uses the MediaTek Dimensity 7025 Ultra chipset, paired with up to 12GB RAM and 512GB storage. Performance is smooth for everyday tasks, social media, video streaming, even light gaming, though it trails behind rivals like the Moto G75 or Galaxy A35 in benchmarks. On cameras, Xiaomi keeps the 108-megapixel main sensor, but adds OIS for sharper low-light shots. You also get an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, a 2-megapixel macro, and a 20-megapixel selfie cam. Video tops out at 1080p 30 frames per second, but stabilization via OIS makes a difference. Battery life is solid thanks to a 5,110 mAh cell, and you get a 45-watt charger in the box, 62% in 30 minutes. Software is HyperOS on Android 14, fluid but still cluttered with bloat and ads. And sadly, Xiaomi promises only 2 major Android updates. If you want a dependable OLED screen, great battery, and stabilized camera at under £200, the Redmi Note 14 5G is hard to beat. Just be ready to sideload apps and update yourself. Next on our list is the Redmi 14C, a budget-friendly option that punches above its weight in some surprising areas. This phone is priced super roughly $100 to $130 USD depending on the variant. But hey, Xiaomi tries to make up for it with a surprising feature, a 6.88-inch IPS LCD display with a 120Hz refresh rate. Yes, 120Hz on a phone this cheap, though to be real, in practice, most apps like Instagram or TikTok only run at 60Hz. You only get that 120Hz smoothness in the system UI, and only if you manually switch it on. So while the spec looks flashy, the real-world benefit is limited. Under the hood sits a MediaTek Helio G81 Ultra 4G chip with 4 to 8GB RAM and up to 256GB storage expandable via microSD. It handles everyday browsing and light gaming fine, but for PUBG, you'll be limited to 30 frames per second. Audio is single speaker only, but brightness reaches a usable 600 nits in high brightness mode. Now for the camera. You're getting a 50-megapixel main sensor, and let's be honest, the secondary lens is just for decoration. Daylight shots are respectable with natural colors. It even edges out the Galaxy A06 in some comparisons. Selfies from the 13-megapixel front cam are decent too, though nothing groundbreaking. Video is limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and there's no stabilization here. Battery life is solid thanks to a 5,160 mAh battery, and even though the phone supports only 18 watts charging, Xiaomi includes a 33 watts charger in the box, a small win if you own other devices. So who is this phone for? If you want a sleek-looking daily driver with decent performance, solid battery, and an ultra-smooth UI feel, at least in parts, the Redmi 14C is a great pick. Just don't expect flagship polish. And yes, HyperOS has some bloat and ads, but most of it can be disabled. Alright, next up, the Poco X6 Pro. Now this phone doesn't just flirt with performance, it full-on goes for it. For just $300, or even less if you catch an early deal, the X6 Pro is a performance beast targeting phones like the Pixel 7a and Galaxy A54, but at a way more budget-friendly price. Now let's talk power. The Dimensity 8300 Ultra chip inside this thing absolutely shreds through tasks. Paired with up to 12GB of LPDDR5X RAM and 512GB of storage, this phone handles heavy apps and even demanding games like Genshin Impact at 60 frames per second on high settings, something many pricier phones still struggle with. On Geekbench, it even rivals the Pixel 8, beating out the 7a and Galaxy A54 with ease. For under $300, that's just wild. It's also future-ready with support for on-device AI tasks, just like flagship chips. The 6.67-inch AMOLED display hits 120/120 Hz and up to 1,800 nits of outdoor brightness. Dual stereo speakers and Dolby Atmos make it great for media too. Design tweaks include slimmer bezels, IP54 water resistance, and an in-display fingerprint sensor, but the plastic back can feel greasy unless you pick the vegan leather yellow edition. Camera-wise, Xiaomi took a different route. Instead of the flashy 108-megapixel sensor, you get a 64-megapixel main camera. Smaller, yes, but it now includes OIS, giving you much better low-light shots. Daytime images are more natural, though slightly softer. The 8-megapixel ultra-wide and 2-megapixel macro are average, and selfies come from a solid 16-megapixel front camera. Video maxes out at 4K 30 frames per second, which is a bonus in this range. Powering all this is a 5,000 mAh battery with blazing 67-watt fast charging. You'll go from 0 to 81% in just 30 minutes and a full charge in 45. Plus, the charger is included in the box, rare nowadays. It runs HyperOS on Android 14, which is basically a rebadged MIUI. It still has the same clutter, bloatware, and ads, but the experience is smooth, and you get 3 years of Android updates with 4 years of security patches. The Poco X6 Pro is a mid-range performance king. If you care more about raw power, display sharpness, and fast charging than having the cleanest UI or the best camera, this phone is an absolute steal. Let's talk power and endurance, because that's exactly what the Redmi Turbo 4 Pro brings to the table. Launched in April 2025, this beast competes with the likes of the Vivo iQOO Z10 Turbo and Motorola Edge 60 Pro, but it comes in swinging with flagship performance at a mid-range price of $275. The 6.83-inch AMOLED panel delivers 1280 by 2772 resolution, Dolby Vision, HDR10+, a 120 Hz refresh rate, and peaks at 3,200 nits, way brighter than most mid-rangers. The design is a glass sandwich with an iPhone-inspired flat frame, RGB-lit camera rings, and IP68 water dust resistance. It's hefty at 219 grams and misses a 3.5mm jack, but feels ultra-premium. Here's where it gets real. The Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 chip, built on a 4nm process, gives this phone some serious horsepower. You can get up to 16GB of RAM and a jaw-dropping 1TB of storage. Yes, 1TB. It also supports UFS 4.1, so app loading and file transfers are all crazy fast. Whether you're gaming, multitasking, or running demanding apps, this phone keeps up without breaking a sweat. Combined with the buttery 120Hz display and an Adreno 825 GPU, the Turbo 4 Pro delivers flagship-level gaming. Genshin Impact, PUBG, anything you throw at it, smooth as butter. The thermal management also seems well optimized, keeping the phone responsive without overheating. The camera setup is simple. A 50-megapixel main and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide. Selfies come from a decent 20-megapixel front cam and video caps at 4K on the rear and 1080p on the front. Nothing too flashy here, just clean, consistent shots. But if photography is your main thing, there are other phones with more versatile camera setups. Battery life? Incredible. This phone packs a 7,550 mAh battery, one of the biggest out there. That's 6 to 7 hours of heavy use, easy. And with a 90-watt charger in the box, you'll go from 0 to full in just over an hour. It even has reverse charging, so you can top up your earbuds or another phone in a pinch. For those who obsess over specs, huge battery, massive storage, flagship chip, the Redmi Turbo 4 Pro is a mid-range marvel. Just don't buy it for selfies. And rounding out our list is the Poco X7 Pro, a phone that hits a sweet spot between style, speed, and serious value. Launching at just $400, it brings flat frame aesthetics, a sharp OLED panel, and a powerful MediaTek chipset, all for less than what some brands charge for a pair of earbuds. Design-wise, the vegan leather rear adds character, and the flat frame plus under-display fingerprint sensor feel premium. Stereo speakers are loud and clear. Brightness peaks at 3200 nits. Under the hood is the brand new Dimensity 8400 Ultra, and let me tell you, this thing flies. Backed by 12 GB of RAM and 512 GB of storage, it crushes everyday tasks and gaming without breaking a sweat. It's not quite flagship level, but it's dangerously close. Now let's talk cameras. You're getting a 50-megapixel Sony main sensor with OIS and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide. Photos are crisp and natural with decent HDR and color reproduction. Low light? Acceptable, but a steady hand helps. Selfies come from a 20-megapixel front cam, and video tops out at 4K. For social media, it more than gets the job done. Battery life is another highlight. With a 6000 mAh battery, you'll easily get 2 days on a single charge. And when it's time to top up, you've got 90-watt fast charging. And yes, the charger is included in the box. 0 to 100% in under an hour. It runs HyperOS 2.0 on Android 15, and while performance is smooth, the bloatware situation is still a little heavy. You'll want to do a cleanup run out of the box. AI features like smart voice recorder and photo editing tools are present, but nothing groundbreaking. The Poco X7 Pro feels like the ultimate all-rounder for the price. It's powerful, stylish, lasts long, and shoots sharp. With only minor trade-offs in software polish and ultra-wide camera quality. Easily one of the most balanced budget phones Poco has ever released. Whichever phone you choose, you're getting great value and solid performance. If you found this breakdown helpful, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a gadget roundup. Drop a comment below to let us know your favorite pick or which budget phone we missed. All the links to the phones we covered are in the description, so check those out to learn more or grab the one that fits your style. Prices and availability are accurate at the time of posting, but may change, so be sure to check the latest details before you buy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.